Bookcase TV is brought to you in part by Cafe Tallulah.
I know what you're saying. Oh, I'm on camera already? Welcome back to episode number 2 of Bookcase TV. Our new case is going to take us to the land of young adults. Talking about which, I always wonder what young at heart means, because obviously that's a line that no young person will write, and only an older person will feel alike, especially when they try to appear younger. So, young at heart implies pretty much that someone not so young writes for young people. We found a specialist in nerds, real nerds, not so much the type that hides behind a computer screen or a TV screen, but nerds that go around the world solving problems for other people. So let's meet the nerds. Then we came across a mermaid in Chelsea. We met with her and she told us how she came about to become a mermaid, and thank God for me, I was able to come back to the real world because she was not humming and singing into my ears. One of our guests as well, it's actually a pretty freakish monster called Gugor. We've met him, he's part of the creature department. He's a pretty ugly monster, to be honest, but he's also very unique, that he's able to actually have a communication with you straight from a TV screen. Between us, I will not be hanging with him too much because really is off-putting look-wise. Young at heart or not, let's meet these older folks writing for young audience and see what they have to say. Nerds, the violent virus. It's a bit of an oxymoron because viruses tend to be villains, right?
Yeah.
So what's meaning intended there?
Maybe we're overstating it. The idea is that there's a virus that attacks the entire world, and anybody who contracts it becomes a supervillain. They become super intelligent and super paranoid, and they begin building doomsday devices.
Because the virus in itself is not enough, it has to be a super virus?
Yes, it's more actually an electronic virus that affects the human body. It's a little tiny robot that gets into people's bloodstreams.
And how did you come up with the idea?
I've always written a lot of over-the-top villains, and in the series that's always been one of my favorite things. So I was like, why not just make everybody an over-the-top villain and just have some fun with it? So that's where I really wanted to do, was just, most of the stuff I write is really just for me.
Okay.
I'm happy kids like it, but I'm really writing it just
to
make
like you're a big kid at heart, no?
A very big kid at heart, yeah.
What's your process? So you start with the scenario, the story, and then you go into drawings, or you go reverse, or you have an idea? What's the germination or incubation period?
It's different every time, but usually what happens is I'll see a vision of something in my head, like a scene, like you might actually see in a movie. And that's sort of how I write, is I see it in my head like it's a film, and then I write it all down. So usually I write out an outline, which I find is the only way I can actually finish a book. And then just writing and rewriting, working at it until it gets to a place where I really love it.
So you've written 4 books to date, right?
There's 4 Nerds books.
Okay.
And the 5th one comes out this fall. It's called Attack of the Bullies.
Okay, the bullies. So bullies is a very big topic.
Yeah.
Is that a personal experience of yours at school?
Oh, yeah, very much.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Were you the bullying or the bully?
I was, well, that's a good question. I'm sure there's somebody out there who considers me a bully, but I think I was the one that got picked on mostly. I was this tall in high school, but I was super skinny and an easy target. But I wanted to try and show you what bullying's like from the point of view of the bully. A bully is just sort of it's like a big nerd. I mean, usually they pick on you because they need some kind of attention or a little bit more love at home. I mean, some kids pick on others so that their parents will actually get involved for them and intervene. It's like,
sure, they're actually out.
Yeah, they're usually, bullying is oftentimes a cry for help on the part of the bully.
So if you were not drawing and writing books, you think you'd be a big bully?
Oh, I don't know. I'd probably, because I'd be miserable. And
That's right. Well, this is where I was going.
Yeah.
Who's the main character on that bullying book?
In the fifth one, the main character is a girl named Ruby Pete, who is her code name is Pufferfish, because she's allergic to everything, and whenever she's allergic to something, she puffs up a little bit. And she's interesting. She's a kind of a unique character in that her father is a Protestant and her mother is Jewish, and there's a whole that's a whole different kind of experience for some kids. And I felt like I knew a lot of
as well.
I knew a lot of people who had come from those dual religion families, but I didn't see a lot of books out there for them. And I thought, well, why not create a superhero for them?
Yeah.
So,
Michael Buckley from Brooklyn.
from Brooklyn.
I did warn you, these writers have a lot of mileage. Young at heart, but not so young. This is your first novel?
No, it's my second fictional novel. I've written 4 memoirs. Yeah, but it's my first specifically young adult novel, and it's my first fantasy novel.
The inspiration behind the book?
I started reading The Golden Compass, which is such an amazing
sure,
book,
it is,
right?
Yeah.
And it really,
The classic.
I don't read fantasy normally, so that really blew my mind to see how much I loved it and to see how inspired it made me feel. And I just was like, I want to see what my magical landscape would look like if I were to try my hand at that genre, you know?
So this is Sophie's story,
Yes.
and what happened to her?
Sophie is a young girl in Chelsea, Massachusetts, which is a kind of tough town. She's got a single mom who's kind of stressed out all the time from her life. And she's just kind of trying to be a teenager and find her place in the world. And in the midst of that, she's visited by a mermaid, a very cranky mermaid, who guards the river in Warsaw in Poland. She swam all the way to Chelsea to kind of reveal Sophie's destiny to her. And Sophie's destiny is really big. She's going to save the world, basically. And this mermaid and an assorted cast of talking radical pigeons and old Polish witches are going to help her.
Okay. So how did the relationship with McSweeney happen?
You know, I live in San Francisco, and McSweeney's is in San Francisco.
yeah.
We're neighbors, kind of. I do literary organizing. I run a nonprofit called Radar Productions, and it's a queer literary nonprofit organization. And you know, McSweeney's is there doing The Believer and 826 Valencia, and our paths cross a lot in the literary world. And I've also written for The Believer, for their magazine. Mm-hmm.
So you knew the editor there, and then you showed the manuscript, and they say we want to publish it?
I didn't know they were publishing young adult. I was actually at a Believer event speaking to Venda Levita about how I had this manuscript, and she said, oh my God, you should give it to us. We're looking for young adult, and I was so excited, so I did.
Yeah, because they publish very few of them, and it's got to be an honor to be published by them. Yeah.
It is. They're wonderful. They're so respected, and for all good reasons, you know.
You said you did a lot of memoir writing.
Yeah.
And now it's just like with fantasy, how that shifted you to write that style?
Yeah, you know, memoir comes very easily to me, and I find it just purely enjoyable. It's really fun.
It's reflective. I mean,
yeah, the story, you already know the story, so your job is to sort of play with language and play with emotion. Writing fiction, especially fantastical fiction, you're building this world from the ground up, so it's a lot more work, you know, and the questions of, is this believable or not, haunted me the whole time. And I mean, I know it's a mermaid, so the idea of believable is a little different than, you know, writing a not magical book, but you still want it to kind of make sense within the rules you've created for the world.
Of course,
you know?
yeah.
So,
what do you think is a big message in that book for you?
I think there is actually an unintended but very important message about class. The landscape that this all happens in is a very lower working class and poor neighborhood. There's not a lot of books that take place there, especially in young adult literature. It's a really kind of middle class, everyone has what they need, and girls are trying to get a boyfriend.
Sure.
And that's not what's happening here. Yeah.
Which is interesting because those issues are not too often addressed, especially in young adults or even younger books. You know.
It's not like it's addressed sometimes. If it's an issue, they make a big issue about it.
Mm-hmm.
But just to have the
top,
landscape, the point of the book is not that these people are poor and in trouble. It's more like it's a fantasy book, but it's happening to a lower working class girl and not to a girl in a castle or something.
When you set up to write this book, did you set up to write a trilogy? Or
Yes, I did.
You did?
Yeah.
So you had the whole curve, the arc, the pretty much.
Yes, I do. I know the important points. I'm in the middle of the sequel right now, and I'm finding.
So you're writing number 2, is it?
Right now.
You're right. You are.
Yeah, I wrote it. I worked on it this morning before I came here. It's due like very soon. So.
How far you are from?
I'm at like 40,000 words.
Oh,
so
okay,
maybe
halfway?
halfway. Yeah, it feels halfway. So that feels nice.
And then number 3, it's already you know what's going, how everything
I have my
resolved.
ideas. Yeah, I know where I'm going with it, but I'm probably going to be surprised along the way.
I'm Mike Woods from Frame Store.
Okay. So what are we looking at here? We have a funny-looking wiggly creature.
We are.
My name's Gugor.
Oh, is that you doing the ventriloquist?
That's
here?
me. Yeah, it's all me.
Oh,
yeah,
right,
that's
no.
why my hands are behind my back.
That's
Yeah, I'm controlling you.
But that's pretty impressive. So what is Gugor?
So Gugor is one of the main characters in a book called The Creature Department,
Okay.
which is published by Razor Villain imprint of Penguin, and we had meetings. So we're Frame Store. We're a visual effects company that makes sort of Hollywood special effects for films and TV.
Okay.
We had a meeting with Penguin 18 months ago and decided that wouldn't it be great if we got together and they capitalised on our prowess at bringing creatures to life, and if we could work with an author that understood what Frame Store could offer him, perhaps we could do something together that would be unprecedented and fun.
So the author was Robert Weston.
It was.
Okay.
Yeah.
They
And
haven't called me, so.
Robert came into the Frame Store office and we talked to him about how we create creatures for Hollywood, and whether or not there was something we could do together where he could take some inspiration from how we create creatures, and whether he could write something that sort of sits around that nicely. And so was born the Creature Department, which is, again, for us, an opportunity to do things like this and bring the characters out of the book into 3D.
You started with the creature first.
We started with a conversation when they came in to see what Frame Store did.
Okay.
Somebody in the room said, so do you have a creature department at Frame Store? Which made us laugh because we don't have an actual creature department. We have lots of animators that make creatures, but that sort of stuck in our heads, and we thought that's a really neat thing.
The concept, yeah.
Robert went away and then came back with this fantastic book.
Okay. But when was this Gugor created then?
So we made Gugor last month because we knew that this event was coming, and obviously with the book being released in November, we wanted to do as many madcap and fun things as we could in the lead up to it being released. And one of them, we thought, well, the whole point of us getting involved is that we could bring all of these characters from the book to life. So where better place to start than Book Expo America to get the first one out and have it talk to the
very
public.
impressive, because now I believe if I talk to Gugor,
you can chat to him,
you can actually answer my question. So,
Of course.
how does it feel like to be able to scratch your feet?
Oh, it feels good.
Yeah.
I've been able to run around, look at my tail. Wait, where's my tail? Have you guys seen my tail? I thought I left it back there. Oh well.
And
I'll find it later.
And your hair is made out of candy, or can you eat it? Or
Oh no.
No, what
These
is
are
it?
genuine creature dreadlocks.
What's next for you? Are you going to be in the film? or
We
what?
don't tell him what's next.
Oh, you don't.
We
tell
just-
Oh
me.
yeah.
just get it
I've
out
been
for the events.
asking for weeks.
Okay. No one made you sign a contract yet, or you can reveal on TV?
I wasn't able to see the contract.
Okay.
They just said, do you want to come to the Book Expo and meet lots of nice people? And I
Alright.
said, yes, please.
I like it.
Thank you.
Yes, you're very strong. You have strong forearms.
I've got very big hands and a very big head, and my feet are killing me.
Well, they're very small. They should not be too painful.
They're tiny.
Oh, yeah. So let me go back to the real people now. So what's next for Gugor?
Well, that's the question.
That's
I
a
mean,
big
we've got so many ideas of what to do. Obviously, the opportunities with interactive books, they're enormous.
Books, okay.
And then
So would be online books,
Could be.
digital books.
everything.
Okay.
I mean, the whole grand map for the project takes in pretty much everything, right the way through
Sure,
to
yeah.
the potential of feature film and everything else. But for the time being, it's about the book. It's all about the book. Let's get the book out there. Let's get it popular. Let's get the kids buying it, and then let's let it grow, because there's about 100 other characters in the book that we could bring to life.
Right. Okay. So the book is coming out again
November.
The Creature Department, which apparently contains a lot of different creatures.
Oh yes.
And Gugor is one of them.
He is.
Thank you, Gugor, for your time. Now we
Thank
look
you.
forward to see on the big screen on my computer
Oh, thank you.
or anywhere else.
And thank you for your time.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Heather Terrell. Is that your name?
That is my name.
Your sixth books, I'm sorry.
My sixth book, yeah.
The first three you mentioned were for adults, grown-ups.
Right, they were.
People call themselves adults, yeah?
People who call themselves adults, yes.
And I'm taking you're one of them, but you also write young adult
I do.
books.
That's
So
right.
this is a book for young adults,
That is for young adults or immature adults.
mature adults.
Yes, either.
Tell us about the story in a nutshell. What is it?
In the story, the heroine, Eva, has to take her slain brother's place in something called the testing, which is a dangerous competition, really an archaeological excavation, the goal of which ultimately is to become the ruler of the last survivors of a catastrophic world flood. The only remaining land is a singular Arctic island, and its inhabitants choose to live intentionally in a medieval way. And the competition that I referred to is an archaeological excavation along the shores of the land. And really what they're excavating are artifacts from our world. And it really ties into the ultimate theme of the book, which is not just the truth of Eva's world, but is uncovering really the truth of all civilizations.
How much research did you have to do to write a book like that?
So I had to really research how you would live in an Arctic environment without any modern advancement. So I took a close look at the Inuit culture and how they survived. You know, the sort of tools that they used, the way that they transported themselves, the food they ate, the way they came up with clothes.
So what's the connection with you? What do you feel like the need to do historical fiction?
I had an aunt when I was growing up who was a college professor, and she was also a rebellious nun. She didn't always agree with the church and the teachings, and from a very young age, she sort of fed me a steady diet of, we'll put alternate histories. You know, I started out with the Myths of Avalon, which is a retelling of the Arthurian legend from a female point of view, and I read myths, Scandinavian legends, a lot of fantasy, and a lot of history, and a lot of mysteries. And she sort of created a taste for me in this alternate truth, the alternate story that lies beneath the story that you're told in school or that you read in history books. I try to give the readers the experience of what it is to see how history is fashioned through the eyes of the victors, through the eyes of the survivors, and how they cobble together pieces of myth and the Bible, and they take these artifacts and fashion this very specific story to further the agenda that their society has to have.
Do you think we need myth in our life in today's world?
That is like one of my all-pervasive questions that tortures me. And in fact, I did an educator's guide for this book for librarians and teachers to use in classrooms. And that's one of the questions I pose is, why is it that we keep on seeing the same myths repeat themselves over and over in history? And I really focus on that a lot in the book. And I pose the question, is it that there's some core need that we all have to hear these particular stories, whether they're creation stories or other tales about humanity, or is it because leaders throughout time, governments, not even always governments, but the victors, if you will, throughout time have taken those stories that worked in prior generations and reshaped them and refashioned them for the next generation, so they seem familiar, so they seem as if there's something that people would respond to and really hold on to and believe in. So I don't have the answer to that question, but it's definitely one that haunts me.
I think it's a fundamental question especially if you write about it.
Right.
As part of you is curious about the structure of legend, morals. Do we need myth to teach our kids morals, for example? You may not agree with the story, but you can agree with the outcome of it.
That's right.
I wish you all the best and keep on doing for many years.
Frederic.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for sending me all these fun letters. I read every single one of them. I can assure you that I'm not always the most intellectual and serious-looking newscaster on TV. And to prove my point, since today we are talking about kids' books, I brought a little device that is going to prove you that I can be hyper-serious. This is my hyper-serious look. So today I would like to talk about banned books. What are they? Where are they? Well, banned books are books that have been pulled from the shelf from school libraries and from classrooms. And there is an organization, the National Coalition Against Censorship, that works toward reestablishing those books. And we went to talk to them. Today my guest is Acacia O'Connor from the National Coalition Against Censorship. Can you tell us more about it?
So the National Coalition Against Censorship is what we like to say is our nation's first responders against censorship issues across the country. We deal with a number of different free expression issues that intersect with culture and different media.
So when we talk about banned book and censor, we're talking books in schools or library. Where are they banned exactly?
Both. All of those things.
Okay.
Mostly when it comes to schools, school libraries, and curriculum, where students will be learning about a particular book and reading it in class, and one parent finds out about it and doesn't like what's in it. They don't want their child to read it, but then they also don't want any other child to read it. We believe that if parents really object to a certain type of book, then sure, a school should offer an alternative assignment. I think that there's a twofold problem for some parents or citizens, and one is that it's being taught by a school, which means that they're giving authority to a certain book or a certain topic, almost as if by teaching it they're saying this is okay or it's an endorsement of what happens in the book, even if that's obviously not the case. And then secondly, parents who object, they have a way to address this problem from one adult to another, right? If I have a problem with True Blood being on television, I don't have someone that I can go to and demand action and invoke my taxpayer dollars and rights as a citizen. Sure. When you have a book being taught to your child that you don't like, you can go to the school board and you can go to the principal and say, I don't want my tax dollars being spent to educate my child in this way, and I want you to do something about it right now.
So the goal of the organization is to keep the freedom of speech, I suppose that's what's called, of reading as open as possible?
Yes, absolutely.
Is there a bigger rate of censorship among kids' books or young adult books versus adults?
Yes. You'll see a strange amount of challenges to books in advanced placement courses in high school.
I'm sure you're probably running statistics in the organization. Is there like a trend toward more censorship or banned books since 9/11, for example?
The issue now, I think, is there's been a spike in cases about books about non-traditional families, gay moms, gay dads, and just homosexuality in general as it becomes more culturally accepted.
So now you know what to do and who to contact if you disagree with a school decision and a library decision and you want your kids to have access to the book you feel they should have access to. Presumably, I won't be banned from newscasting either after showing my face on TV this way with glasses that are just falling off my nose. So we have a new pick of the week this week, and related to young adult, we have 4 fantastic novels. The first one is Blaze, Love in the Time of Supervillains. It's a story of a nerdy girl who is known to drive a turd brown minivan and who also draws comics. This is why she's being labeled as weird. But what she wants to be seen by Mark, the soccer stud, who doesn't see her, and only watches her or knows her as being a weird girl. She's tired to live on the sideline. She does everything to make herself noticeable. Blaze, Love in the Love of Supervillains. If you want to know what happened to our hero, just read it. Fantastic. Laurie Boyle Crompton. The next book is Counting by 7 by Holly Goldberg. Very different books in texture and tone. It deals with a math genius, Willow Chance, who counts by 7. So if there's 7 days in a week, how many weeks in a month? Well, let me tell you, 7, 14, 21, 28, I can come going, but I'm being silly, but what happened to Chance is not funny at all. Her life is shattered the day her parents die in a car crash. She's left alone, and basically it's a story of coping with the losses and finding a family again. fantastic book, well written, Counting by Seven, Holly Goldberg Sloan. The next book is actually a third book of the series by Talos Whiteside, The Janitors. I would strongly recommend, if you haven't read number 1 and 2, to actually read number 1 and 2 first before you go to number 3. The Janitors, which is called The Curse of the Broomstaff. It's a story of Spencer, Daisy, and their clique of rebels who go around mopping the world and cleaning toilets and bathroom in order to discover where the Glop is hiding. And what is that important? Well, it's because the Glop is about to destroy the world, so they may have to stop the Glop before it's too late. Highly entertaining, packed with action, a great reference, a great quote by very famous writers such as Orson Scott Card, Talos Whiteside, The Janitors. Book number 3, The Curse of the Broomstaff. And the last book, and probably the best of the whole pile, well, to me, because it's a bit more adult, The Life After Now, by Jessica Verdi. She reminds me a lot of Julie Bloom because she takes tough topic and managed to put them in a very, very readable way. The book deals with a late teenager who gets raped and contracts HIV as a result of it. So it's not an easy topic, but it's very engaging, very compelling, and if you want to know what happened to our heroine, My Life After Now, Jessica Verdi, read it and don't hesitate. And to assure you, I am very young at heart. Very, very young. Young.